and Bernard asked for the money and said if he didn't get it, he would burn down the ranch that they were living in and would sexually assault all the women. Charles was like, well, shit, can't have him doing that. So he met up with Bernard and he shoots him and takes the girlfriend and leaves. Charles didn't know that Bernard survived. Charles was scared that Bernard belonged to another group called Black Panthers, and so Charles told the family they needed to learn self-defense because he shot a member of the Black Panthers, and so he told them to commit more crimes to, like, I think it was like to up their like toughness. I don't remember what his reasoning was. Charles still got extra protection from a group of badass bikers, but that ship sunk almost immediately, and the bikers asked for drugs, so they gave their money to Bobby, a member of the family, and he went out and got them some drugs from Gary Heineman. And so he came back and gave them all their drugs, and the bikers were like, woo! They said the drugs sucked and that they wanted their money back, and they threatened violence. So Susan Atkins and Mary Brenner went back out to their dealer Gary to get the money back. He wouldn't budge, so they called up Charles and was like, yo, he ain't giving us shit. So after the call, Gary was like, fine, you can take all my cars and trade them in for money. Then Charles busts in and slices Gary in the face. And Bobby was like, dude, he just agreed to help us, what the fuck? So Bobby kills Gary because he didn't want him to rat them out. Bobby actually wrote out the Black Panther's signature, or logo, on the wall in Gary's blood so it would throw off the investigators. And on the drive back, Bobby was pulled over and arrested for the murder of Gary Heineman. But Bobby was a family member, so they weren't gonna let that shit slide. Of course not. So they planned out to kill another person and stage it exactly how Bobby did it, so the police would think that Bobby was innocent because he wasn't there to commit the murder. So Charles and Tex come up with a plan to kill Terry Melcher. Remember him? The producer that stole Charles' music? They were gonna kill him. They knew where he lived whenever they lived with Dennis, so they went over there. Sharon Tate and her husband Roman Polanski were renting out the house from Terry, and Roman was away and Sharon was having a small get-together with some of her friends. And so Sharon Tate, her ex-boyfriend Jay Sebring, Abigail Fletcher, and her boyfriend Wojciech Frykowski were there, and Stephen Parent was also there, but he was only there to keep the property in check. So the family members, Tex, Linda, Pat, and Susan, drive up to the house, and Tex shoots Stephen 4 times while he was in his car, and they all get inside the house. Tex and Jay fight, and then Tex shoots Jay, killing him, and then they wipe out everybody else, and they write the same things on the wall like they did with Gary Heineman. So their plan did not work. Bobby was still locked away, and so they decided to kill another family, Leno and Rosemary LaBianca. Charles went in, tied up the LaBiancas, and the girls that were involved chickened out, and so Tex killed them, and then the girls started slicing and carving into the couple's skin and made the scene look like the Tate murder and the Gary murder. Donald Shea was a stuntman who would also help out with the ranch that the Manson family lived in, and he didn't really like the Manson family. He thought they were a little weird. And so one day, 26 members of the family were arrested on suspicion of auto theft, but they were released, and Charles thought that Donald ratted them out, so Donald was never seen again. Charles was like, shit, the police might know everything about us or investigate us, so they all moved to another ranch in Death Valley. But the police found them again and arrested 24 of them for suspicion of auto theft yet again. But this time, Susan Atkins blurted out to the other cellmates that their family was involved with the murder of Sharon Tate. So in December of 1969, Charles Manson and 5 members were being charged with the Tate and the La Bianca's murders. June 15th of 1970, the trial begins, and Susie, Miss Lips, blabbed off in detail on how the murders happened, and the thing is that they couldn't exactly get Charles for anything since he was never really a part of, or like a big part of the murders. Like, he did tie down the La Biancas, but he wasn't there for the Tate murder, so they couldn't really get him for anything. Charles went on to say that the Beatles had hidden messages in their songs that would make a race war, and he had the girl members scream and hold hands in court, and like, these girls were his ride or dies. Like, they would do literally anything because they were like being brainwashed by him, and they, like, I wouldn't say it was like Stockholm Syndrome, but it was kind of like that since he kept them in the house most of the time, unless it was for like the murders. Charles was charged with 7 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder. Pat, Leslie, and Susan were charged with murder, and they were given the death penalty along with Charles, but they ended up just doing life in prison. And Vincent Bugliosi, who was the prosecutor, actually made a book called Helter Skelter, which gives a lot more detail than I can on this case. I couldn't find much information on the family members, on the other family members, because there was like 100 family members, but Linda did get a bomb-ass attorney and she didn't get charged for shit. And Charles died because of a heart attack, and Susan died because of brain cancer, but the others are still in prison, and even Bobby, I almost forgot about him. But yeah, I'm gonna finish this up and I'll be right back. Alright, here's the finished product. There are a whole bunch of different granny squares. I'm actually making a granny square blanket, and these are different sizes because I saw a Pinterest thing where it was like they had different shapes and sizes of a blanket, but I don't have enough patience for the shapes, so I'm just gonna do the sizes. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will be listing all of my socials, like my TikTok and my Twitter, down below. I will be posting crochet content on both of those platforms. Well, it's not Twitter anymore, it's X now. Anyways, I'm gonna list those down below. Yeah, I hope to see you all next week. I hope you have a great day or night. Bye!